Yeah, we're gonna try to sync this one, it's probably not gonna be perfect, we're
Well,
scrambling, but it's gotta be something, so.
Move it over there by the building.
Oh, they call that a
Somebody
cola.
wanted
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Cocoa or something like the Lions Club, do something like that out there, they still have something like that to do. They can use that to pay for it. But I don't know if we want to do that or how that building is. Ticket counter. Yeah, but I mean, if they wanted to do something. Right, right.
must be, otherwise it's a big, it's not fine. It's school. Trying to get this for.
It's Thursday in Australia. And I think this is going to be televised at like 3 Eastern time on Wednesday. So it should be going.
All right, let's go ahead and call meeting to order. Open Meetings Act is posted up in the corner, northwest corner there, back by the back door. Meeting committee needs to reference. Roll call.
Greg?
Here.
Brad?
Yes.
Deb? Here. Skylar is absent.
And rise and do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any item listed on this agenda will be open for discussion, consideration, and or action by the Ainsworth City Council. Item 2, consent agenda, all items approved with the passage of one motion. Approved minutes from the November 13th, 2019 regular meeting, approval of claims, treasurer's report, department head reports, approval of the cemetery certificate. Any items listed on the consent agenda may, by the request of any single council member, be considered as a separate item under the regular agenda section of the agenda.
I'd like to have the claims approved separate. I just have a couple questions.
Yes, ma'am.
On the claims, I just want to double check. There's a $100 payment to Palmer Law Office for attorney fees, which is fine, but it doesn't have any definition. And then in the LPA 40, where it's got disbursements, it says 100. So is that where the 100 came from? And if it is, can we just mark it so? Because usually it is marked that way on the claims.
Yeah, when Rod sends his bill, it's one bill, we kind of pull out what goes to what. I mean, sometimes you have CDBG housing, sometimes it's general, sometimes it's LBA 40. So yes, you're correct, that $100, check 156 would have been out of the LBA 40 fund, correct? Yeah.
And then, what did we pay the chamber for? It says employee appreciation. What was that?
Correct, so under the state statutes, the municipalities can issue, well, the old statute was up to $25 per employee per
Oh, okay.
year.
Gotcha.
And we do chamber bucks for
That's
that,
right.
rather than doing like a Christmas party or a appreciation dinner.
Right, that's right. I can't remember what that was.
Yep, that's what that is.
That's all I have.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Anyone want to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
First by Brad, second by Deb. Roll call.
Brad?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Greg?
There you go, Pat, sorry. There is no mayor's appointment and report, and we're currently working on that. Next month will be probably a big one. Public hearings, we have none. Old business, garbage service options update. So,
Alright, so, I don't have a whole lot to report, I guess, at this point in time. I've got a meeting with, my regional sales rep from the Clean Equipment next week. He's bringing me a whole bunch of information, so I was hoping that I would have it before this meeting, but, it just didn't work out that way, so. Like I said, next week, he'll be bringing me information on, a couple of different kinds of trucks, new, used, whatever, so I can start putting some actual figures together to put a price tag on the city side if we kind of keep the services in-house, and then hopefully then at the January meeting, I'll have actual data to give to you guys to have a look at and compare back to what J&J presented us.
They also have is that where you get the bids for dumpsters and stuff like that, and carts and.
He was gonna put together some proposals because Heil, which is what McQueen deals with, Heil is the only brand of truck that kind of makes a sidearm tip with also a rear bar. Kind of a good transition truck, and I didn't know that existed. We have a McNeilus box now. McNeilus doesn't have that as an option, so.
What about the containers for each resident?
Right.
They have that bid too?
Yep.
Okay.
That's what he told me,
Okay.
so, yep,
Can I make one comment?
sure.
Yes,
I know
go ahead.
Russ, But
No, it's all right. She said yes, it's okay. No
Okay.
worries.
when Russ Moody was mayor, he wanted to go with the side dump lift, which I understand will cut down on labor, cut down on all this stuff. My thing is in where we live in this, I don't know if anybody's ever noticed, but the wind blows here. And everybody, I normally just take my trash out in bags, put it out there, they throw it in the truck and go. Now, the people that have a trash can, and I've got a big one, probably the same thing they use as the tipper, but it's in my garage. And if I put that out on the curb and they come and tip it, that's fine. But then when I get home in the evening, where am I gonna find it? It's blown way out somewhere else. So this is my problem, is because you never know. And I mean, I'm not kicking the trash people, because, you know, they have a certain amount, they have a route to run, but you never know, they might be there at 10 o'clock in the morning, they might be there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You never know. And if we just have to run a big trash can out there for them to dump, then when you get home that night, where's my trash can? So then you're driving all over Hell's Half Acre out there trying to find where your trash can went to. And this is and that's what I told Russ at that time, is my complaint with, my problem, I guess, not a complaint, but my problem with that sort of trash pickup. Because again, I just take our bags out there, boom, here they are. When they're gone, they're gone. And as long as we don't have dogs running in the neighborhood, everything's fine. But that's all I had to say on that. It's just, like I say, it's just trying to find your trash can when the wind's blowing. Because I've had trash cans from people 2-3 blocks away in my yard. After, you know, after the trash pickup and the wind blows them down the street. So unless there's some way to anchor a can down somewhere, tip it, put it back in an anchored spot, that deal is not very satisfactory to me personally. But anyway, do whatever you need to do.
Probably the biggest issue from the city side of Rich is basically injury. And I'm talking about the individuals driving and working on the garbage truck.
Oh, I understand that,
If
Rick.
we look-
I got no
yeah.
problem with that. but
That's
it's-
something that we gotta look at and seriously consider is that.
But I mean, what are you gonna do about my trash can that's 2 blocks away that afternoon?
I've got the same issue like that also. My trash can is blown away, but I think these containers or whatnot will probably be a heavier duty, and they probably can lay them down. I'm betting they're not gonna blow away as easy as some of the round containers, trash cans that we have.
Well, I've got one that's
But I mean, I
this
don't know.
square and that tall
Right.
in my garage, that,
It's on wheels.
yeah,
Yeah, similar to what they.
yeah, it's pretty much the same thing, I've had it for years.
96.
Yeah.
To,
But it
Yeah.
lives in my garage, and then, like I said, on trash day, I haul everything out, put it on the curb, and
well, there's no decision that's been made yet. We're just taking.
I know, but I'm just letting you
Concern.
know the other side of the deal.
Sure. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I have a question on the garbage. I understand where you guys are coming from. Are you planning on checking with Valentine? Because they have 2 pickup groups there. I don't know if they would, I don't know if one or either come this far, but
You mean if we consider J&J? So,
yeah. Or will you look at others? Yeah, I realize you're just gathering information right now from J&J, you know, that way you can look at their price compared to the city's price. But if you decide to go that route, will you be looking at potentially one or proposals from one or both of the places in Valentine?
I would think that would make sense from my standpoint, that you might want a regional competitive bid against J&J then. But
Part of the issue too is would then, if we got that bid there, would they use the local landfill? Would they haul
No,
it
I don't know,
back?
but I mean.
Again, that's all,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right now, it's pure conjecture, I understand that,
Exactly.
but if you get to that point, will you
Right. 'Cause
probably be looking at getting a quote or whatever you might say
I
from
would
Valentine?
be, yeah.
One of our biggest concerns is to make sure that we dump at our local landfill here, because if they don't dump at our landfill, and the landfill doesn't get the revenue off the city, it's gonna close.
Yeah, well, I
And
understand
don't think
that.
we want that to happen.
That would have to be put into the proposal, you know, go out
Right,
like.
part of the bid.
Yeah, part of the bidding process.
Right.
Because I just knew you would.
Isn't it Aaron's, I think, that isn't Valentine, if I'm not mistaken? I don't know.
I just get a bill from them and pay it, I don't know, I don't remember.
I think it's.
But I know I think there's 2 different ones in there.
But Valentine uses private, it's all private.
Yeah, it is private. And I know the one that dumps my business up there, theirs is a front dump. It just pulls up to my dumpster and up over the front of the truck and into the back. I don't know how they do the residential. I assume it might be the same way with the smaller containers, but.
It dumps from the back. The one we're looking at dumps from the back. The bar raises the can up and dumps it. It's a bar just like we got on our truck.
Yeah.
Same thing.
That's what J&J uses, and that's what
Yeah.
we're looking at too, potentially for price. But
All right. Regular agenda, item A, Ainsworth Golf Course Annual Review, Kay Gracie. Kay did.
Pete's not here
Yes.
tonight. He's sick, sorry.
That's all right.
I brought you guys in our annual report. We're still there. We got a little money in the checking account. So, not a lot, but
Thanks, sir.
we seem to be surviving for now. Appreciate you guys' contribution every year. You guys have any questions on them or studying a little bit, feel free to call me or any one of the board members. Right now, we're doing a little expansion out there, trying to figure out how to pull in a little better revenue. I believe our clubhouse manager is going to return again for next year. We have built Christmas parties, trying to do some revenue over the winter. Beyond that, it's
you know, it's pretty slow this time of year for us, but we're trying to pull in some different avenues for revenue. Right now, we're talking about, we've never had a carry out license. State of Nebraska said it would cost us $50 more. It would not be something that we would advertise, but offered, you know, as a service. We thought maybe we'd capitalize on some revenue there. We're doing some checking with that. It's something that will have to be brought back to you guys before we change the license that we have for alcohol. Equipment is a never-ending battle out there, and our groundskeeper is a battle right now. I don't believe our groundskeeper is going to return. I believe we have a grounds committee. They're either in negotiation with the previous groundskeeper or looking for a new one at the present time. So, if you guys have any questions, I hope I can answer.
Did the flooding do much damage out there this year? I know it's always flooded every year out there at certain times, but I think this year probably a little extra.
It did do quite a bit of damage. We actually seen some extra damage this fall, just because it was so loud. We had a couple trees tip over, and it's pretty hard to get out there to get without tearing everything up. So we did lose a little bit of grass just because it was underneath the water for so long. It's slowly going to recover. Hopefully we don't have to do this again this spring. But I think most of the damage we pretty much took care of and got it caught back up.
How's the membership's been looking over the last several years?
Membership right
Staying
now is
same,
actually
or-
down a little bit.
Okay.
Our green fees are up a little bit. I was told by older board members that have been there before, they said when you get a cold spring or wet spring, your membership goes down, your green fees go up. Or if you come into the spring and everybody wants to get out of that winter rut and go, you know, you get more memberships, but it's down about 8% is what I kind of roughly figured, but we are pursuing some revenue, trying to get some of them members back. One of the other board members come up with kind of a campaign to talk to some of the members that didn't join and maybe try and get them back out there.
So, I don't know, Chris, if the board considered it anymore. I think there might be potential to try to persuade some of the Valentine more casual golfers to consider Ainsworth, the town course in Valentine, Frederick Peak, for a single membership and carts, which you can't have your own cart there, which is gonna run about $1,200. So we're gonna be, for an out-of-county, a lot more reasonable than that. So the people that aren't diehards might balk at $1,200 for a year golfing. So there might be an opportunity early next spring to try to make some inroads that way. People might consider a little bit of a drive if they're gonna save the kind of money on a membership they'd save.
Oh, definitely. Well, we like to see Valentine crowd down there. Seem to have a good time. They're very respectful. We've never had a problem with them, especially even casual golfers.
Thank you.
Chris, I got a question for you.
You bet.
Do you guys pay rent on that ground?
We do.
And who do you pay that to?
We pay that to the airport authority.
And how much is that?
I believe around $1,800 a year.
It's closer to 1900, it's like 1872.
The city owns that ground, correct?
Yes.
I'm confused. Why does the golf?
City airport.
We have this same deal.
I just don't understand why we're paying, because we're helping the golf association. The
Right.
city owns the course, they own the ground. We're helping these guys to pay rent on ground we own.
It's circular money.
they pay the airport authority, that the money is essentially city money. It's a circular thing.
It never comes back to us.
Well, not cash.
So it ain't circular for us, I'll guarantee you that. I'm just confused why we pay rent on ground we own. Is that something that you can get an answer for us? I mean, Rod, we've talked about this before.
Well,
I mean, it's not a large thing, but still.
still, it just doesn't make sense, really.
Yeah, of course, when the city of Ainsworth received that land from the federal government after World War II, the airport authority was created by the city of Ainsworth. The airport authority is a statutory creation by the legislature. And they provided that once it is created, it is an entity unto themselves, answering to no one other than the voters when they change the people that are on the airport authority at elections. We gave up all authority to the airport authority and that land to the airport authority at that time. I think it's up to the airport authority. If they want to charge rent, they can. If they don't want it, they probably wouldn't have to. I don't know that, but I don't think they would have to. I don't know what they feel their expenses are, and maybe they, I don't think they pay taxes on that land, but I don't know. We don't.
They don't own it, so they probably would not, would they?
Pardon?
They don't own it, so they probably would be, because we don't pay tax on it, correct?
Correct, but as a municipal authority, they're part of the government.
I think there may be a policy at the courthouse that if you are a nonprofit or an entity such as a governmental entity and you are making money on it in a commercial manner, then they're going to charge you real estate taxes.
What happens on the farm ground the city owns?
We are taxed on the portion that we rent out.
They're taxed on the
We're
portion
also-
that they rent out to make money on.
We're also taxed.
And I think the same thing goes with the airport authority. And so that's at least the precedent that they've set, and I don't know how that's grounded in law, but that's what they're doing. And maybe what they're charging the golf course is no more than what they have to pay out. It may be a flow-through deal. You know, if they have to pay that amount to the county, then that might be what they get back from the golf course. I don't know.
So you're thinking they have to pay
It might be
taxes
a
on it,
break-even.
right?
But on that logic, if they wouldn't charge, then if they're not making money on that ground.
They aren't, but the golf course is, so it's a commercial establishment, it's a commercial
And we've
enterprise.
We've contested taxation on city property with the Board of Equalization. In the other
I don't know what I have, you know, you might have an argument with what is the tax equalization Turk board?
Yeah, we didn't, when we argued farm ground.
You didn't take it that far?
We
You
did.
You
We
did?
didn't get
Didn't
the
want it.
farm
Okay.
ground.
Okay, gotcha. I didn't know if it had ever
Yeah.
been pursued outside,
Larry
just
Rice
going to
and I
commissioners.
contested that.
I see.
We didn't,
It's kind of an odd figure, apparently, that it's not an even figure, is it?
$1,892, I think.
So that makes me think that they're just charging you what they're getting charged. And I don't know that. Not true? No.
When I was on the board, I had the same discussions with Lance as to why the airport, and he draws the FAA, right? Regulations like a gun. He says they require us that we're supposed to charge so much, you know, if it's pasture ground, we get an estimate on what pasture ground is selling for or renting for, and that's what we have to charge. And yours, we classify yours as pasture ground. And he has it down to the exact acreage, you know, lined out that it's
30.25 acres or whatever it might be.
So it's a governmental
Yeah,
regulation.
and so if they've got pasture ground there at $40 an acre, you know, rent or whatever, that's what the golf course gets charged. They might give us a little break, but not much.
If they have to do that to get any FFA funds.
That I don't know.
Maybe someone on that board can get an answer for us?
Yeah.
You need to run for the board.
Somebody needs to be in there.
Good luck. The one consolation with that is that the airport authority is eligible to receive a levy, and I think it's like 3.5% or whatever, but they don't do that. And probably for the simple reason, if they did that, they would have to start making their budget and their expenditures public knowledge. Right now, nobody knows for sure. I'm not even sure the board knows for sure what they take in and spend.
What we got, how much, 1 point something? Yeah,
Six
right.
million.
For resurfacing runways and
Yeah.
taxi.
Yep.
You know, they'll have, and that's gonna cost them some, because they have to come up with like 5, 10, 15, 20% match.
It's 10%.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
So
talk to
600. But anyway,
So our rents, golf course rents going up, Chris, get ready for that.
probably.
It just did.
Yeah, it actually is. This last year that ended.
This last year, they increased it.
It's been a bone of contention for
Oh,
40, 50 years.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna, I know it's gonna, city councilors. I don't know.
Anyway,
Any more questions, concerns about the?
well, if you could get an answer, that'd be nice, Jeremiah. we move
Yes,
on.
sir, I will.
The other thing, I know the board, I'm not on the board, I'm just a golfer anymore. All right, you got that right. It'd be cheaper if I quit, put it that way. You can't, I proved you cannot buy a game. But anyway, I know the golf board in previous years has come to the council with hat in hand to see if there's any way that, you know, monetarily you guys are helping out the golf course, which is tremendous, and I take my hat off to you guys for, you know, funding that as you do. But as far as, especially with the greenskeeper, to get and keep a competent one instead of we're changing every year or something like that, it would sure help if we could get that individual on the city's insurance plans. We could offer some sort of a benefit to a young person coming in. I know it's been discussed with you guys before, and during the summer's not a problem for March to October, but then what do you do with them for the other 4 months out of the year? And which is a quandary, especially if you get rid of the garbage thing, and there's probably not too many greenskeepers that would want to jump on the garbage truck. So what do you do with them for that 4 years, or 4 months out of the year? But boy, it would sure help if some, you know, even, you know, health insurance be able to offer an individual to get on the city's.
Vacation, on vacation.
Well, no, I don't know how it would work with
A seasonal?
the city, but like when Paul Hermsmeyer, his contract was for basically 8 months, and at that time they were offering, do you want, kind of like a teacher, do you want to get paid each month for 8 months, or do you want to get paid for the 12 months? But he'd go on unemployment for those 4 months. Granted, it raised the course's unemployment insurance, so we had to pay more, but at least he had 12 months worth of income coming in.
Right.
I don't know how that would work with the city.
I looked into that, back with the care center, we were trying to figure out how to get the care center on board with our insurance, and I feel like this has been talked about a
It
year
has
ago,
been,
maybe.
yeah.
not recently, it's been 3-4 years ago or whatever. Since you've
I've
been here, it's been talked
Okay,
about.
I thought so. And I know when I checked at that time, if my memory serves correct, which don't, don't hold me on that, these guys know. I feel like as long as it meets the definition of what the city offers its employees, meaning that they have to be a full-time employee. Now, how do you define full-time employee? If they're a salaried individual, like you were just speaking, you know, they don't necessarily have to work every day for 12 months out of the year because you're salaried, so you just get paid the same amount no matter what when you work. So there could be some ways around that. I mean, we work with KBR solid waste employees as it stands now. They fit our definition and they fall on our plan. The city doesn't have to pay for that. Solid waste board pays the city the premiums and then the city pays it in a total package and they write on our insurance. So, you know, it might be a possibility to be fleshed out. They want to have it set up.
At least there's hope that something maybe could work.
Potentially. I mean, I think we could certainly visit about it
Yeah.
and kind of flesh it out in detail a little bit and see where it goes.
Well, we were supposed to discuss some of this at our regular meeting before we come to you guys' meeting. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a quorum at the time, so we're on delay right now. And so I was hoping to come with a little more information for you guys to talk to you about some other stuff. And, I mean, you guys are here every month. We're not going anywhere, I don't think, today, so.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not with the board, and maybe I'm talking out of turn, but it's something that, if anything can be done, because it's just,
It's a hindrance to finding any,
yeah.
I guess back to you guys, and I would just say, I mean, it's up to the city council, I guess, direction wise, but, when you kind of get to that crossroad there, maybe give me a holler and we can visit a little bit more and I guess do some research and see where that goes.
Well, I was hoping to have some answers, like I said, before this meeting. Hopefully after our next meeting or after we resume and have forum and have a direction at least that we want to try and pursue and some ideas to throw at you and see where it goes from
All right. Item B, snow removal. Yep.
I just think we need to work on our snow removal plan. I've lived here almost 10 years, and until this year, no one's ever gotten stuck in front of our house. And since Thanksgiving, we've had at least 4 people stuck, and we've had to have the cops come and pull out, or we've had to help push out or whatnot. And it's just because there's a big dip there, and there's a tree that shades that area, so the sun doesn't get to it to melt it. You know, like some of the streets you can leave slushy and the sun will melt it off. Doesn't happen here. And it can't be just on our street. There's gotta be other streets that have the same problem. I just think we need to get back, and after we've had a snow and ice storm, the guys surely know the problem areas from being around. Go back to those and take it while it's kind of soft and see if you can get rid of that. Because like I say, with 4-wheel drive, we could get on our street. But if we get people coming through that don't have it, and our across the street neighbor works for the sheriff's office, he had to pull his own girl out of the rut, just trying to get out of her driveway, because she didn't have 4-wheel drive. And I mean, that's not good. And like I say, I know it's probably not just our spot, but maybe we need to be more aware of other areas like that too, and this was the worst it's ever been.
Okay.
Can I make a comment
Sir.
about that? This has always been a bad spot, right in front of our house, going over to Kyle Stang's house right across the street. It's always been a low spot, an ugly spot in the street. But this year, I guarantee you, right after Thanksgiving, when we had that snow, we did not see anybody from the city up there in our area. None, nobody. And where that drainway is across the street, it always gets soft there, so it melted down there. And I didn't put a straight edge across it. I wanted to. I was really tempted to go out there with a straight edge and a tape measure, but it had to have been an 8-inch drop from this pile of hard packed snow down into this hole, and you have about this much of a gap and then an 8-inch jump back up out. And if you tried to just plow through it, it'd tear the front end out of your car. If you go through it in a creek, I got a 4-wheel drive pick, I'd lock the front end up to get through it. I mean, the front end went in and I'd lock the front end up to get out. And this was like this for a week and a half. And Deb said there was more than 4 cars that went through there, that went down in, dropped the front end in, and a couple of them were even high centered. The frame was on the ice before the tires got to the bottom of it. And we're dragging people out, we're pushing, rocking, okay, come on, get through it. And now, I mean, nobody from the city was ever up there even to look at it. And that's gotta be, and I'm sure there are other places in town like this. I'm not saying this is the only place. But nobody from the city was, until Deb, the other night, an old lady come to the door and she goes, we're stuck in the street out here, can you come help us? Yeah, I'll be right out. I went out and me and a couple other people showed up and we rocked this car out of this hole. And Deb called over here, left a message. The next morning, yesterday morning, the city was up there and about destroyed that front end loader trying to dig that out. I mean, they were banging away. I mean, it's like breaking up concrete with it. But what the problem is when it was warm last week, nobody did a damn thing to it. And the street in front of the care center, the nursing home, same way. There was 6-8 inches of slushy snow on it. And in the daytime last week when it warmed up, everybody was driving through it, cutting ruts in it. I leave early in the morning, you can't hardly drive through it because it's froze up again. Because nobody went through there and moved anything out of there. I mean, it wouldn't have taken on a warm, nice, it's not completely melted off, I understand that. But if the city would have come through there with 10 minutes with a motor grader, they would have cleaned that street up and it would have been no problem. But that next morning at 6 o'clock when I tried to leave the house, I couldn't hardly get to D&D Drive-In because of the ruts that were froze up in that slushy stuff from the day before. The city is just, the street department just don't give a shit. Excuse my language, but.
Well, let me hold it up right now. I realize that we've had issues with snow removal and whatnot, but I can't tell you what from day to day my city guys are doing. I know they're employed, and I know that they might not always be able to get out there when they need to, but I know that they've been out and plowed some of the roads. So I know that you're dealing with the environment and the weather and the conditions, with it freezing and whatnot, which is hard, but for them to get out there the same day that's unfroze or whatever, or slushy, they might be doing something else. I understand that.
Well, but
what would help is if we know that there's a situation like that at that
But I mean,
residence
what
or
I'm
whatnot,
saying
to
is
give a call that day.
last week, every day last week, was up in the upper 30s, lower 40s, and the snow was melting.
Right.
And nobody even drove up through there from the city.
Right.
And last Friday, I drove by and there's still I haven't been up by there now, but there was still a windrow of snow down the middle of Main Street. I can remember years ago when there'd be a snowdrift, a snow pile down the middle of Main Street that you couldn't see over the top of. And we get a week of warm weather, And every day, the city's out there with a motor grader, or hell, one time they had a 8N Ford tractor with a back blade on it. And they would just slowly, all day long, pull that snow off of it,
Well,
and within 3 or 4 days, it's gone.
Rich, I can tell you they were doing that because where I work on Main Street, that was being done. Unfortunately, I just don't think the weather cooperated to get it all gone, because then, was it yesterday, Kevin? They came back and took what was left with the payloader and loaded it to get it off, to finish it
Well-
off. So that process was happening, the weather just didn't cooperate. I think it goes back to what you said. You guys have lived there 10 years and this is the first time it's happened. The ice and the snow was an issue. I'm not gonna argue that. Flip side, if you're gonna get rid of that slushy stuff, the best place to put it, in my opinion, would be in the middle of the street. Because if we put it at the edges, then we're gonna have ice on the curbs, and you're gonna have the same thing. I mean, 'cause-
But you drive it down, like on Main Street, you pull it out there, and every couple hours, like, and again, not these last couple of days have been bitter, but last week, every day was in the upper 30s to the low 40s, and the sun was shining. And,
And they were going down Main Street, I can guarantee that, because I seen it.
but then on the weekend, there's still,
The weekend I can't speak for, because I wasn't here.
well, towards the end of the week, I was by there, and there's still a pile of snow in the middle of the street. And again, I'm talking from 20 years ago, when I'd seen a huge mountain of snow in the middle of Main Street, and we get a week like 40 degrees, they keep pulling a little out, a little out, a little out all day long, and it's gone. It's melted off. People drive it down, and it's gone.
No. I hear your concerns. I think that with the weather and though, I think there's a lot of factors in with that. But I hear your concerns and whatnot, because it's up on the north side of town too, when it slushes up. And some pretty big dips up there if you get stuck in. But
Yeah, and
I do.
And I'm not saying we've got the only spot. I'm just
Right.
saying that that is an ugly spot, and there were cars stuck in there right and left.
How many of them lived there?
What's that?
How many of them lived up there that were stuck?
I don't know. What difference does that make? It's a public street.
I understand.
You
The reason
can
I'm
drive
asking-
down that street.
Right, I'm just asking for maybe there's something maybe we can do to make an adjustment, that's what I was asking.
I mean, anybody in town or anybody in the country, they can drive down that street.
I know too that if we need to get some vehicles off the road when it snows too, that causes some issues too. I don't know if there are any vehicles out there parked on the road, but when there's vehicles parked on the road, the guys can't clean as wet in the way they need to get those roads clean.
But there was nobody came through there.
Right.
There was nobody.
Now, you're saying nobody came through at all?
No,
I mean, I don't believe that probably.
That's not true. I think early on.
Well, I mean, on Thursday, when we had the first little skiff of snow, somebody come through then, but once we had the big snow the day after Thanksgiving Day, or the day after, whatever it was, there was no maintainers, nobody come through after that.
Well, I think to help maybe answer part of your question too, Rich, we've been talking about this prior to this snow. We're looking at the ordinances, we're looking at enforcement. We are working on it, just so you know.
Yes.
It doesn't solve what happened, but we are trying to be proactive as we move forward into winter. We're gonna be looking at these things, and there's gonna be some enforcement. People are not gonna be happy, but we gotta make some changes.
And one problem I have is we have a city ordinance, what is it? I have a certain number of hours to get my sidewalk cleaned off and after snow.
Yep.
Oh, what are we doing with the city?
Well, you got a whole town and I've got 4 or 5 two guys that can run
Well,
maintainers.
yeah,
And
I
you're talking
don't
about a little
care
sidewalk.
about that. What I'm saying is, you can write me a ticket
Right.
for not having my sidewalk cleaned off,
Mhm.
but I can't write you a ticket for not having the street cleaned off. And that's one of the biggest, and we haven't seen that this year, but there's so many years, I'll go out there, okay, we get a decent snow. I go out there with my little stupid little 2-stroke snow thrower. I clean my driveway off, my sidewalk's all cleaned off, and then 2 days later, after the snow's all been driven down and packed down to concrete, the maintainer comes through and they roll that crap back up into my driveway, and then I've got this mess of hard stuff this deep at the end of my driveway that now I've gotta do something with, that the city didn't do anything about when they should have. And that's what I'm saying is, you can write, the city can write me a ticket for not having my sidewalks cleaned off in a orderly fashion. But I can't write you a ticket for not having the streets cleaned up when they should be. This is the problem I have. It's backwards here.
I hear your concerns, and like Greg
Okay,
said.
and I'm done.
And we're trying to work on things to help better that situation, so. But I would like to, yeah, our guys are out there working, I know.
Yeah, I understand.
But I just
that.
we don't have guys be on every street, you know, every minute of the day. So, and I understand that refreezing in the weather, we're trying to work those issues.
Well, like I say, yesterday morning, a guy, after Deb finally called over here yesterday and left a message, yesterday morning, they were up there and the guy about destroyed that front end loader, trying to bang away, beating that ice block out of that drain.
All right.
Okay, well, I'm done.
Any more comments, and thank you for your comments. Deb, anything else? Brad? Greg? All right. And we'll look into that, and like I said, we're working on it, so, sir. Item C, consider the Citizen Advisory Review Committee's recommended amendments to the Economic Development Program Policy and Procedure Manual.
Okay, I know you guys approved this in November at your meeting, but the CARC met December 4th. And we're just doing their biannual review, and so that of course includes policy procedure documents as well. And out of this 23-page manual, it was noted that there was a few other typos and things that needed to be cleaned up. You guys should have a copy of that in your packet. So the policy procedure manual, like I said, some minor typos. One was, we kind of converted everything over to say city approved attorney. There was one reference that still said, I think, approved city attorney. The committee wanted the language to be the same, so we changed that. One place it said, referred to the plan administrator rather than the program administrator. And then I think there was just a couple other that were just typos. And then, yeah, and then on the application document, the exhibit B, the policy manual had been changed to read $100 rather than $135 for the application fee. The committee also discussed that that fee should be collected by the city rather than the NCDC, since the contract specifies the work to be done on NCDC, and that $100 that covers the registry checks and the background checks should be paid by the city, right?
Right,
Yeah.
well, it's the city's loan, they should pay the expense.
So those are the changes there. Anybody have any questions on those?
Anyone want a motion to approve changes? Amendments?
I'll make a motion to approve the changes on the Citizens Advisory Committee recommendation on the policy procedure manual.
Second? Second. First Brad, second by Greg. Roll call.
Deb?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Brad?
Yes.
There we go. Item D, consider a change order for the pool filter replacement project to include the addition of the installation of a sump pump.
So, I don't know if anybody's been by the pool lately, but you'll see the fencing is up, the tanks are set, there's quite a bit of work being done, so we're I would say over 50% complete on that project with Industrial Process Technologies, who's the contractor that's working on it. Brad Miller, we're meeting with the engineer Larry Steele. You guys have met him a few times. We were talking about the planning grant specifically, I guess, is what we were visiting about. And we got to talking about the basin and the leaking of the basin. You know, the city invests approximately $25,000 every 3 years on painting and caulking to seal that basin so we're not running hoses. So in the non-operating times of the pool, of course the pool basin collects leaves and water, and that water sits at the deep end. And that sitting water, of course with weather and everything else, kind of deteriorates the paint and the caulking. So he has suggested, now that we are decommissioning the existing filter pit, and that's the tank that we're putting outside now, so that pit is cemented into the filter house, so it cannot be removed. So it's kind of just acting as a backflow on the basin itself. So he's suggesting perhaps the installation of a sump pump to keep the water from sitting in the bottom of the basin throughout the winter, with the intention that the caulking and the paint, we might get a little more life out of it. It's supposed to be a 3 to 5 year on the paint and caulk. We've only been barely getting 3. So I think the hope is, well, we'd spend $1,400 on a sump pump and maybe get another year or 2 life out of the caulking and the paint, so that long-term maintenance, maybe that reduces our cost a little bit.
So how would that run as far as, like, this time of
It'd
the
be
year?
an auto. It's
So
an
this
auto.
time of the year it'd kick on?
Only if it's detecting water.
Wouldn't that be frozen though?
Well, that's why it'd be set like on an auto detection. The guys wouldn't have to manually turn it on and on. It should kick itself on and off, depending on water level.
And so that area would be heated, where that sump pump is, or it's low
Well,
enough in the ground?
It's in the filter pit in the house. In the
Oh,
filter
So it's
house.
low enough.
Not the pool
It's
itself.
not in the basin itself.
Oh, okay, all right.
Is that house heated?
It is not, but it's out of the elements, I guess.
How deep is it?
Filter pit?
Yeah.
Well,
It's underground
It's
waste.
above ground, actually,
Oh, it
but
is?
it's in the filter house itself, and that's the piping that used to be that in the filter house, the water would be pumped into the filter pit and then into the basin of the pool, and it circulates back around. That's what we're decommissioning, so that pit will still be there as kind of as a backflow, I guess, for the basin. So this would just be during non-operating hours of the pool. Of course, once the pool is operating, all the water is going to flow through the new filter tank that's going to be sitting outside.
Still no concerns with weather than being so cold it would crack anything with this?
He didn't seem to think so. Yes. That wasn't a specific question when I asked him, but he didn't mention that as being an issue. My concern was that we would have to manually check that. He said, no, this would be an auto pump.
The question I have is that during freezing periods, if we had an issue with that, it doesn't do us a lot of good. That would be the question. Otherwise, yeah, if we can gain by getting another year out of the paint and caulking, yeah.
Well, yeah, because at this point, we're spending, well, I think the last bill to paint and caulk was closer to $28,000. And of course, it goes up a little bit every year, so we're pushing 10 grand a year on paint and caulking. So if we could get another year, say, out of that, you know, that's
Right.
reducing, we'd be money ahead on $1,400.
That's not a whole lot of money that we have in our budget, the pool budget to do that.
Now, I mean, we budget pretty conservatively for the pool, knowing that there's contingencies every year, so that's not an issue. I think the thought was, since we're already in the middle of an improvement project, that this would just be an easy change order for the contractor to add to the project.
Weather only concern. Like I said, if it would work during cold weather and not freeze up and cause us an issue.
I think that's the idea.
Anyone want to make a motion to approve sump pump addition?
I'll make a motion to approve the sump pump pool filter system. As long as we check it out and there are no issues with the freezing of it.
But it should turn on in those instances of water there, so it shouldn't be, I mean, in theory, it shouldn't.
Should be, yeah.
Like, when it's frozen, there's nothing there to heat. You know, like my garage, you know.
But if it's-
It's insulated and it's out of the elements, but if I put a glass of water out there, it's gonna freeze in this weather, even though it's insulated, there's no heat in there.
But if it senses the water there, when it's there, it's gonna be pulling it out, as long as it's working in theory.
I mean, you're always gonna have, with any kind of a pump, you've always got a basic level, but it's not gonna get every drop of water out, but, yeah.
When you say the basin, that's the bottom of the pool in the deep
The
end,
deep end,
and it will automatically, during all season, drain
pump it
into
into
the,
the filter pit, the deconditioning filter pit.
does it flow by itself?
Is it?
Flow by itself from the basin into that filter pit? How does it get from there to the filter
It
pit?
has to be pumped into the filter pit, that's the
That would
point of
be
the
this.
pump.
Oh,
We're pumping it out of the basin.
I know nothing about it, but I'd go over to the Shopko building. They have, where the trucks back in, they have automatic, they had, I don't know, we used to pick up inserts back there, so they have to back down, and they had automatic sump pumps down in there that lasted maybe a month into the winter, the first winter.
That's my concern.
Yeah, because,
Well, that's why I wanted it to be an auto, because I thought if our guys have to be
yeah,
checking it.
but
you're
as
gonna
soon
run
as the
the
cold
motor.
weather hits, that water that's gonna collect in the bottom is going to freeze.
Sure.
And then if it warms up, the water on top, or the ice on top will thaw, but where the sump pump is, it'll still be frozen. I mean,
And then in the pool, you're
it
gonna
didn't
have all
work,
the
it didn't work at
leaves.
Shopko, put it that way, that's all I know.
And in the pool, you're gonna have all the leaves that blow in there, they're gonna have the drains plugged. So unless somebody's gonna get down in there and rake the leaves out of the drains. I don't know.
Should we question answer first then?
That's up to you guys.
$1,000 as compared to what?
Well, I think what we could do is, I don't have a problem with sending him a motion, have him answer that question. Because can we wait a month, Lisa?
I guess I don't know what Daryl's time frame is, I know he's got,
Well, if we need to have a special meeting, we can do that too. I'm just saying, I agree, I don't want to spend money if we know it's not gonna work for us. If we know it's gonna work, then I'm okay with it. But I think we can get that question answered.
rock freezing.
Yeah.
That's,
So I want to make a motion to table that until the next meeting.
I'll make a motion to table until next, until we get the answer
For a special meeting.
of the freezing.
I'll second it.
First of all, Ray, second, Deb, roll call.
Craig,
Aye.
Brad,
Yes.
Deb,
Aye.
Item D, city administrator clerk treasurer report.
The street shop building, if anybody's driven by there, the steel building did come in, I think, about right before Thanksgiving, maybe the week before Thanksgiving. Is up. Talked to Corey Monday. He was gonna try to have the overhead doors and the windows installed today. I haven't checked with him today to see if that actually happened, but, he estimated they were about 80% complete. They have the electrical work to do yet inside the building, beyond the doors and windows. The pool filter project is on schedule. We just talked about that. Nothing concerning there. Wastewater project, we had engineers here this morning from Olson. They are still working with USDA on items before they advertise for bid. So I think, as of this morning, their hope was to try to have everything ready to go by January 1. So I guess we're in a little bit of a holding pattern there until the engineers and USDA can come to an agreement on the bid spec and how that will be laid out. We did receive a check from the NCDC for $73,123.07 on November 26th, based off of the motion in November for the return of the remainder of the funds. So that would have been the remaining demolition funds that were being held.
What was 73-1?
123.07. I've talked to NPPD several times this month, and I'm trying to get a push on the solar array. They had advertised the RFP, I think, back in September. I think I reported last month that Kathy had advised me that 5 respondents to the RFP, one of which the pricing on the RFP came in favorable. They've been working with this developer. She had hoped that she could be here this month to present, but it sounds as though there's still a few technical requirements they're trying to iron out. And sincerely hopeful that in January they will be able to come and present something to you guys on their findings and recommendations from the RFP. Let's see what else. That's about it. A lot of it's just kind of continuation of working. We're still working on the vacant housing ordinance. We should have that ready to go hopefully by January. I think we're going to try to get a meeting of the Board of Health together to review that and make recommendations to the City Council. So with the holidays, I guess we'll see if we can get that meeting set up and all that time to work out to have it on the January agenda. We did reach out to Nebraska City, which is a municipality that's already enforcing this ordinance, which, for anybody who's not aware, came out of a legislative bill of the state legislature in March of 18 that allows for municipalities to sort of charge a fee for vacant buildings, vacant properties. So we're hoping that that will help with some of our housing and commercial property issues that we are facing in the community. LBA 40 professional recruitment. I've had multiple conversations with CEO John Warner, trying to work together to get some things figured out that work for Brown County Hospital, potentially, hopefully the care center as well, because they're in the same boat. So whatever solution we devise for the hospital will be on the care center tonight as well. And right now, John and I are working on exploring an option that probably affects, I guess, maybe him more so than the city, but anyway, he and I are in conversations and trying to get that ironed out to move forward.
Any more questions, comments, concerns on the audience or the council?
I have one quick thing, Jeremiah, before what was the meeting. I had somebody call me last week and asked me about residential. They said apparently you had moved. I told them I had no idea. They said, well, the mayor's moved out of town. How does that work? I said, I have no idea what the mayor's residential status is, but I said I'd ask the question. I told the person, I said the last time I remember it happening was when Kent Taylor was on the council, and he moved out of town and had to resign from the the council. I told him I didn't know, I said, that's the last instance I recall happening. I certainly didn't speak for you. I said, I have no idea where you live, period, so.
I am currently, we sold our property in town, but I'm currently looking to move back into town, or looking for a residence, a 4-bedroom place to rent, or actively trying to find something to move back into. Don't plan on moving away from town or whatnot. I'm actually renting a place here in town also, so I am registered to go at that property too. So I am here and I'm not going nowhere. We're trying to move back into town. We're downsizing our family. We've got a couple kids graduating. There's no reason for us to buy a 4-bedroom when we downsize.
Yeah, no.
And that's absolutely fine.
I certainly don't, yeah, whatever you guys do. I just said I would ask the question. I don't have anything, like I said, it doesn't matter to me. Well, you know, yeah, that's your life, man. I don't, I just told the person I'd ask the question. So if they call me back, I'll have an answer. That's all I was gonna ask. I told them I had no idea what your situation was, but I said the only thing I can remember was when it happened, when Kent moved. That's the only thing I could even draw on for reference, so.
And you wanna talk to this at all?
No, I don't, that's all, I just said I'd ask.
And what I have found too from research is as long as you're actively pursuing trying to find something to move back into, is fine. But
Yeah,
again, if there's issues or comments, something the public's gonna have, they are more than welcome to talk.
Yeah, that's fine, I don't, like I said, I don't have a clue what the statutes are, so, I just told the person who called me and I'd ask the question, so, yes, sir.
Did you not research that with your time?
Yep. And I've talked to Rod too about that, so.
Okay, well, yeah, like I said, I didn't know anything about it, so.
Yeah. Yep, and that's understood, no worries. Do you wanna speak to that?
Well, you know, as I understand it, you've got a place where you can live here in town and you rent that and it's your residence. That's what you intend to be, and so you don't intend to be out of the town, so. That's physical presence and intent is the two things on domicile, so.
Like I said, I didn't have any clue on it, I just said I'd ask, so. That's what I did,
No, yep, no worries.
that's all I got.
Any more questions, comments, concerns?
Question I might have is that as we move forward with LD authority, you work with John on this professional recruitment. Also, I think Corey Remo attended a housing, or a city council meeting, and he was here, had interest in the housing part of it. How do we continue to move forward? What is our time frame? I mean,
Well, basically, the only thing we're stuck on, I would say legally, would be the professional recruitment for the hospital. You know, a contractor as it stands could apply for LB 840 funds now. You know, that would be an eligible business activity as long as their primary source of revenue is coming from, you know, the sale of that service as a housing and commercial property contractor. But I think what you're trying to get at is from a city perspective, you know, the city trying to get a plan to work with contractors and kind of fill our housing need, which I think, you know, the vacant housing ordinance is a step in that direction. And then, yes, I think the city will need to come up with a plan, have some kind of promote housing and development. So whether that's working through some of what Corey presented here, a month or two ago, or kind of taking some playbook references out of some other communities and pulling together all of our resources to get something moving with demo properties and encouraging development.
is that something we think we can complete in the next 30 to 60 days?
I think once we get the vacant housing, you know, depending on where that discussion leads us, will kind of tell us where we're gonna go from there, because that gives us a little bit of teeth on the city that we don't currently have.
Sure. But again, we have to have that entity set up and ready to go, or whoever it will be, once we technically do. I guess that's my question.
So any contractor at this point, like I said, could apply if they had a plan. You know, all they would have to do is put in an application for funds. You know, contact NCDC office to put in their application with their proposal, and that would go through one committee and city council as it stands now. But if we the city, if we want to develop a process to encourage that might be some additional steps.
What I'm wondering is if we should get the representatives from the NCDC, Corey is one of the individuals interested, invite contractors if they will, whatever, meet from the city, have representatives to continue to keep us moving forward, if we can't meet and move forward.
NCDC board met with Corey, and one of the, Lou, who was here, met with his son and Corey, back in October after the council, after they had met with the council, we had talked to them about coming to our meeting, and at the time, we had $73,000 demolition funds. We said we could work with you to potentially acquire properties, do the demo, and then turn over a clean property. Well, we don't have that as an option anymore. That money got returned to the city, so we're in essence, I mean, we can help with an application if they want to apply for LD 40, but we don't have any capability of doing really anything on the housing side at this time. We don't have any funds to do it, so.
And one of the things that the CARC talked about, just, I mean, I don't want to talk out of turn because they'll give their report in January, but kind of as a committee talk about housing needs and, you know, an intermediary would be sort of like what the NCDC maybe have had. NCDC obviously is not eligible now to receive the funds, but the process itself, you know, with an intermediary committee that reviewed and did work to obtain that, that's not far out of reach of, you know, setting a process like that up. The city council, well, we have a housing committee that stands. Of course, right now their focus is owner-occupied rehab properties, but we also have a CRA that was created through the TIF project. There are some, I think, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, some maybe legal advantages to running properties through a CRA. So there's a couple of things that I think the city can certainly explore to get something going. I have not had the opportunity, I guess, to really detail research that, so I don't want to speak too much to it and put my foot in my mouth, but there are some avenues I think we can research to get something going.
I think it's important to continue to move forward. Time is important.
Anything? No, I was gonna ask you that.
As a citizen, I want to express my extreme disappointment in the handling of the Harrington Street south. It's the road to the hospital. The street broke up in that one section, was it between 2nd and 3rd Street, back in March. And I realized the FEMA was approached, you know, using FEMA funds to get it fixed and whatever, but we're now 9 months after the March breakup. Other than a little leveling and adding some dirt to fill in the holes, nothing was done. And as soon as it starts thawing, it's gonna be impassable. I imagine the ambulance will avoid that street again. And it's a travesty that something wasn't done to that street to correct the problem that's there, even if it was a temporary patch. But there was basically nothing done to it other than leveling out the mud holes and filling them in with dirt. And I try to avoid that, but I live down there, and about 25% of the time, I forget and turn on to that. And it just will rattle your teeth out. And it's gonna get,
First Street, and you turn to go north on Harrington, you're gonna go right on top of that.
yeah.
Well, it's between 1st and 2nd.
And after,
Because it's between 1st and 2nd.
after it froze, I came down there Wednesday, or Monday on the ambulance. And
Yeah, it's right there by the
it was
church.
pretty shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, we were trying to get mitigation dollars to see if we could
Yeah.
put that back to concrete because it is an emergency.
That was kind of a pipe dream though.
It was, in hindsight,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was kind of like holding out your 1992 wheel drive regular cab and expecting the insurance company to give you a brand new crew cab 4-wheel drive.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I did talk to Kevin today about that, just because I did hit it with the ambulance and it was pretty rough. he is gonna try to continue to try to get down there and keep it smooth, but now this time of year, there's not much you can do.
No.
Well, come spring,
He
it's
said he's
gonna
gonna
be
try
a
to keep it.
disaster.
Somewhat.
Anyway,
It needs to be fixed properly though.
The plan is to have a contractor lined up to come in and fix that in the spring. That's what Kevin and I have discussed, because mitigation, as you noted, of course, has denied
Yeah.
our attempts at concrete.
How about USDA grant?
I actually was not able to attend the board meeting today, as I had planned. I got held up with the engineers, and then I had a sick child, so I didn't get to speak with Chris today about that project.
Thanks, Rob. Anyone else? Let's go ahead and adjourn this meeting then at 6:15. Thank you, everybody, for coming.